Sky Sports have revealed in the last 15 or so minutes that Harry Kane has told Tottenham he wants to leave the club this summer. They claim Spurs have already made initial inquiries about replacing the striker, whose representatives have been contacted by Manchester City, Manchester United and Chelsea. This is the news that Spurs fans were dreading. I can't say we're too surprised about it, but look, we're going to dive into this. We're going to talk about, what it might mean for Spurs, the reliability of the story and everything. We're going to talk about everything with this, as it is some massive breaking news for Spurs and not of the good kind this evening. But look, before we do get into it, if you are new to the channel and you want more content like this, plus more transfer videos or Pursuit of a Manager, the podcast to watch along, everything, make sure to smash that subscribe button down below. And hit a like as well if this news is annoying you as much as it is me. But look, Sky Sports said at about 7 o'clock that Harry Kane has expressed his desire to leave Tottenham this summer. The first thing we want to ask ourselves is this realistic? Yes. There's no doubt in my mind this is realistic. I'm not going to sit here and say it's absolutely true. It's not written in the stars that Harry Kane has said that to Spurs. There's always error, kind of room for error within journalism. And look, this comes into it. Joseph says, don't buy it. To be honest, Sky always say he wants to leave. Sky do always say that he wants to leave, but Sky also have a betting site. Sky have one of the biggest footballing and sporting betting sites in the world in Sky Bet. And they have said a lot of things in the past that you were a bit realistic, seemed to be a bit true, kind of played into what the fans were expecting to hear or played into what fans wanted to hear. And then people start betting on it and Sky make a little bit of money off it. I've said it a lot in the past. I forget what story it was, but I've said it so much that the company who have a monopoly on footballing journalism, on footballing broadcast and everything in English football should not have a monopoly on the betting sides of those things. Look, fair enough, take your bets on games, take your bets on who's going to win the league, who's going to win that and all that stuff. But the fact that they have a monopoly on transfer news within the English media, within English football, and to some extent around Europe with Sky Italia and Sky Germany as well, the fact that they can have that betting site, for me, I've kind of realized this the last year or so, it throws every little story into a bit of doubt. Now, with every journalist, every story, there's going to be doubt. Not every journalist is correct 100% of the time. Even Fabrizio Romano, Alistair Gold, all the ones that we would see as the most reliable do make errors from time to time. Look, as Lightning Bolt here says, Sky ain't that reliable. Wait to see what Fabrizio Romano or Alistair Gold say. And another thing there is Paul saying, not worried, no one can pay the fee for him. And that is another thing. It would not surprise me one bit if Harry Kane had expressed a desire to leave Spurs this summer, or if he did on a personal level want to leave Tottenham. It would not surprise me one bit, because he has given so much to this football club. He has given absolutely everything in his career so far to this football club. He's been promised time and time again that the team is going to be built around him, that we are going to be successful, and he is going to be the forefront of bringing this team to the pinnacle of English and to the pinnacle of European football. That Spurs have not lived up to those promises. They've not lived up to the expectations of Harry Kane. They've not provided in return to him what he has provided to this football club. We're now in a position where we had our best manager in decades in Mauricio Pochettino, and we sacked him at the first sign of trouble, brought in Jose Mourinho, who has ripped this club apart from the core, from the footballing ideals, from the values, from everything, the tradition of what this football club was about. That has been ripped apart. And Harry Kane now finds himself at a club that he did not sign up for. I'd put the same kind of explanation on Ndombele, Lo Celso, Sessegnon, Clark, kind of all these players that we signed in the latter stages of Pochettino. They right now are at a very, very different club to the one that they promised their future to. We look likely to appoint a rebuild manager. And I said this when I was talking about Erik ten Hag earlier today, and I'll say it again. We appoint a rebuild manager, whether it's Ten Hag, Julian Nagelsmann, Graham Potter, even if we for some reason go down the Scott Parker route. If we appoint a rebuild manager, this is the end of an era for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. It marks the end of an era that has seen the likes of Lloris, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Dembele, Eriksen, Prime Ali, Prime Harry Kane. It marks the end of that era, and we're putting that era to the side, saying we're not winning trophies with that team. It is accepted, that's over. We're going to rip the squad out from top to bottom, and we're going to rebuild a whole new squad. It's going to be a completely new team in 4 or 5 years if we do go with this rebuild manager. We heard today from The Athletic that the 4 managers on Tottenham's shortlist to replace Jose Mourinho are Ralph Rangnick, Graham Potter, Roberto Martinez, and Erik ten Hag, with, according to Jack Pitbrook of The Athletic, Erik ten Hag is the most reliable player, or the most reliable manager to take the reins of Spurs. For that reason, I do not blame, and I am not surprised about this story of Harry Kane wanting to go. I don't blame him one bit, and I feel a lot of the Spurs fan base are in this mindset when it comes to the future of Harry Kane. If he wants to go, if his absolute wish is to leave this football club, I hope he gets it. And I would not begrudge him one bit, because for what he has given to this football club, the last thing we want and the last thing we need is to hold him to this contract that has 3 years left, and force him to stay at this football club and force him into another couple of years, force him out of his prime without any success, because this club is not winning trophies in the next couple of years. It isn't. Whether it's with Harry Kane who doesn't want to be here, or without Harry Kane, we're not winning trophies. There's a long way to go before this team is anywhere near success. And I think that is a guarantee. And I think the majority of Spurs fans will agree with that. We don't want to force him into the latter stages of his career without a trophy. This man deserves to win every single individual and every single team trophy in world football. And he only said that recently. The individual accolades are fantastic and he loves them, but they only get you so far. It's the team trophies, the team success that really is used to kind of decide the true success of a player. Is that why Alan Shearer isn't deemed one of the best players in English football? Probably. He only has one Premier League title to his name. Now, there are other incredible names there that deserve to be in the discussion. Your Wayne Rooney's, who's won 7 or 8 titles. Henry won 2. Drogba has 3 or 4 as well. Those players are always going to be seen as the best. There are a few select players that manage to break through that barrier of not having massive team success and being deemed one of the best. I'd say Francesco Totti is one up there. I'd say Steven Gerrard, in Premier League terms, having not won the league, is up there as well. Harry Kane does not want to fall into that bracket. He wants to be that man that wins trophies, that goes on to be successful. And I really don't think Spurs can begrudge him if he does force that move away. Now, the teams that have so far contacted Harry Kane's representatives to try and force a move are Manchester City, Manchester United, and Chelsea. I personally don't think he will be allowed to go to another English team. I don't think he will want to go to another English team, but we're going to get someone else's opinion on that. Let's bring in Will Stewart, THFC Rants, to get his opinion on this crazy news. Will, first of all, what's your reaction to all this?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm trying to catch up on all of it. I didn't want to miss the chance to come on and talk about it. What are the sources saying? Like, have they talked to Harry Kane himself, or?
I'll just run through the headlines again. It is from Sky Sports. It was Paul Gilmore, their chief Spurs reporter, who brought the news, and there were three main parts of the news. The first one is Harry Kane has told Tottenham that he wants to leave the club this summer. The second one is Tottenham have made initial inquiries about potential striker replacements for Harry Kane. And Manchester United, Manchester City and Chelsea have all been in touch with Harry Kane's representatives to express their desire to sign the Tottenham striker. So there's no mention there of who the source is or who they've heard this from. But Sky just claiming that Harry Kane has told Spurs he wants to go.
Yes, unless they're going to... this is what the media likes to do, right? It's like anytime we have any bit of success, it seems that they immediately come out with a story like this, because this isn't the first time that they've done this, right? It's this is almost every single time we win and or lose a match, it seems that they're coming out with this type of story, and you have to bring credence to it. Otherwise it's just a crazy transfer rumor that they're propagating around. To be honest with you, if Harry does decide he wants to leave, I wouldn't be against him doing that. I think that he's been nothing but a great servant to the club over the last, 6-7 years, and even before that. But, I just think that people like Sky News need to, unless they have an actual, statement from Harry Kane's camp, his agent, or himself, that they need to just kind of not make assertions.
And I said there, I don't know if you were watching before he came in, but my biggest kind of qualm with Sky Sports and their stories has been only when I kind of fully registered in my head that they have a monopoly on English media, English sporting media, the English football, and even the broadcasting, everything to do with that. But they are the main source of news within English football, or at least have been for a while. Maybe there is a shift in that now. But they also have a very, very large betting site that they can make huge profit off. If they come out and say, Sky sources say Harry Kane wants to leave Spurs, there will now be a surge of betting on who Harry Kane is going to join in the summer. They could, I'm not saying they have completely fabricated this story, but they could very easily exaggerate the severity of this. It could be Kane saying he's open to leaving, or he's questioning his future. They're going to straight out say he wants to go. All of a sudden the bets come in and they're likely to make a little bit of money off it. That is one of my biggest worries with this. But I suppose from a Harry Kane point of view, he has 3 years left on his contract. He is 28 years of age. He is prone to ankle injuries. He's bound to miss a couple months every season. how do you think there's a likelihood that teams will be able to afford to buy him out of the Spurs contract?
I mean, I think City definitely has the cash. You know, if they wanted to put up the cash to do it, I don't think that there's. To be honest with you, Chelsea could too. I think I would be personally more hurt if he went to Chelsea than a Manchester club. I would rather see him. To be honest with you, I'd rather see him go to City than to go to United. Simply for the fact that United really isn't in a place. I don't see United as being someplace where he can definitely win more trophies than here. City would be a place like that. So if I'm going to see Harry Kane go, I want to see him go to a place where he can actually get results and actually win a trophy. You know, I would hate for it to see him go to a club that maybe is pushing for something like that. To be a part of a project, I think would be a little bit insulting. You know, if you're going to a done deal, if you're going to a Man City, you know, PSG, you know, Real Madrid or Barcelona or something like that, where you know that those clubs are able to win trophies year in and year out, I think that would make more sense. It would hurt more for him to go to a project or a rebuild than a club that's already at that level year in and year out.
Yeah, and just to follow on from that, I feel if Harry Kane goes to Manchester City, that is the Premier League title the next 3 years wrapped up. The quality of squad that they have there, the youth that is coming through, like you'd forget how young the likes of Phil Foden and Ruben Diaz are, replacing Sergio Aguero with the only man who's really come close to Aguero's numbers during his time in the Premier League. I fully believe that is the Premier League title wrapped up for the next 3 years. FA Cup, League Cup, they can win it if they want. If they don't want, they just won't bother with it. And I think they will full out go for the Champions League the next couple of years. And my hope in this one, because I'm the same as you, I just don't want him to go to Chelsea. There's someone in the comments there a second ago, Matthew Gearing said anywhere but Chelsea. I think Chelsea and Manchester United, as much as at the moment they are to some extent ahead of us in what they're trying to do in whatever project is going on there, and on the pitch they are simply better than us, I feel they're closer to us in terms of direct rivals in the league than Manchester City. Because we sell Harry Kane, say we get 150 million, we can try and rebuild to some extent then, and we'd hope that we could claw ourselves to the level of Man United and Chelsea. But I feel we're way too far off Manchester City to even imagine we can compete with them to some extent. So if it is going to be an English team, I would agree with you. City is probably the best. Now the other side of the question is, would Man City fork out that kind of money? Because as much as they do spend billions and billions on transfers, their record signing it's only about £70 million for Ruben Diaz. They spend a lot of money, but they spread it out over a lot of players. They aren't the team who go and spend 100, 110, 120 million on a player. The ideal scenario for me, if Harry Kane is obviously, absolute ideal is he stays at Spurs. But if he is to leave, I'd like to see him go to PSG, because despite their failures or potential failures in the league this season, it is a one-horse race every other year. You'd imagine he'd win trophies there, get back linking up with Pochettino, maybe have a go at the Champions League. And hopefully that happens. But it all comes down to who can buy him. And then I think there will be a sort of domino effect as well with Haaland and Mbappe possibly on the move this summer. You know, if City miss out on Haaland, maybe then they'll go for Kane, or same Real Madrid or Barcelona, who are both in need of a rebuild, with Atletico Madrid looking likely to win the league there. Bobby says, does the fact some fans are happy for Harry to be sold for us to start to rebuild from the funds say anything about some of our fans' mindset? Big up, Matt. Still too much here, buddy. Look, Bobby, maybe I'll get a bit more cut off to appease you. But what do you make of that, Will? Some fans are happy for Kane to be sold to start a rebuild.
I wouldn't say. I just think it's being realistic, right? Like, it's not necessarily for me. Like when I said that, I wouldn't begrudge Harry Kane if he left. My reasoning is for that is because I fully understand the fact that I don't think that the likes of Daniel Levy are going to do what is needed in order to build a squad around Harry Kane in order to give him the success that he deserves, not even that he wants, but that he deserves personally for the amount of professionalism and effort that he's put in at the club. I don't trust Daniel Levy, even if we were to sell Harry Kane this summer for even, say, upwards of £175 million. I don't think that even half of that transfer fee would go into a replacement worthy of filling his boots on the pitch for us week in and week out. I mean, we're looking at a person who has, is possibly working on 3+ golden boots for the club in the season. 22 goals right now, 13 assists. Those are big shoes to fill. And I don't trust Daniel Levy to even bring in a person who's worth half of that goal return, attacking returns as Harry Kane is.
Yeah, and look, I think this debate, with everything as far as the moment, it comes back down to the board. It comes back down to the recruitment, because if when Jose Mourinho was in charge, when he wanted us to get Luis Campos, if we had gotten Luis Campos, we could be sitting here potentially getting £150 million and have a bit of faith that we had someone at the club who knew how to buy players that could kind of build a team, say a post Kane Spurs team. The question is, we go all out and try buy the best replacement on the market. We're not going to get Haaland. We're not going to get Mbappe. But I saw stories yesterday, and even people commenting now about Mauro Icardi. Do we try and spend as much of that money on getting a direct replacement for Harry Kane, or do we try and balance out our team a little bit more and get a centre back, get a right back, get a centre mid, and try and kind of build the spine of the team back up, and then kind of push on from there? I don't trust this board to make that decision correctly. Whichever way they make the decision, I don't trust them to get the best players they can to make that vision become a reality. And it's the situation we are always going to be in. Like Steve Hitchen, does he really know how to sign a player? He's said himself that he hates transfer windows. But how would you go about that? Well, if you were, would you get a direct replacement, or would you try and kind of build more of a team?
Well, you got to have somebody who's at least competent in that position, right? Do you need to go out and get the exact world-class level of Harry Kane? I think too that you base it on. My fear would be this: that with the amount of cash that could come in for a player like Harry Kane, that the buck kind of stops there, and then the club takes no effort to move on the players that need to be moved on this summer as well. I think it needs to be a both and I think then you need to bring in quality players to do that. But you have to bring in somebody who is at least capable of at least maybe 2/3 of the attacking returns that Harry Kane has. Otherwise, it pushes this club further down the table and outside of the goals that Daniel Levy himself states. Right, if it's all about top 4 in Champions League or European football money for him, if that's his main position, then he needs to secure that position, because you take out Harry Kane's goals this season and we're in far dire straits than we ever could even imagine. It'd be a sorry season.
We'd be wishing for the days that we were drawing 1-1 with Fulham, I think, if that did. But look, everyone in the live chat, we have 250 people watching right now. As we do continue to react to this news from Sky Sports that Harry Kane has apparently expressed a desire to leave Spurs, make sure to smash that like button if you hate Daniel Levy as much as we do. And as always, make sure to subscribe for more of these videos and more reaction to this story and many more stories as we do come on. Will, what would you expect this means for Tottenham's pursuit of a manager? Because I've been saying for a few weeks that, just a personal opinion, that if we do go for a rebuild manager, that will see the end of Harry Kane's time at Spurs, or rather he would want to leave, because he doesn't have the time to stick around for another rebuild. He needs to win trophies, and if we're starting from square one again, that's not going to really happen at Spurs. Do you think that gives us a bit of an insight maybe into the type of manager Spurs will be appointing?
I mean, very well could be. I mean, he probably knows more about what's going on than we do. I'd like to just, I'm not sure that I could say that Harry Kane, watches this channel, or he may, or I would, or maybe somebody who knows him does. But I mean, if this is you, just come out and make a statement. I'm just so sick and tired lately of all of the ambiguous things. If this is something that you want and desire, trust me, as fans, we will support your decision, right? If this is a decision that you're making, come out and make a statement yourself. If this is something you want, you say, hey, Daniel Levy has not convinced me that Spurs are ambitious enough. And so I'm going to look for, I'm going to even just say, hey, I'm just going to, view my options. Come out and make a statement and we'll support you. And I think that you would see the fan base immediately turn to be on your side and put more pressure on Daniel Levy to actually make a commitment and hold his feet to the fire. I'm just please, if you're watching, or if anybody who says that, and can tell you about it, please just do that. It would help. It would be more of a help to the club. No one's gonna, I'm sure there may be some people that will bash you, but the majority of us fans will not bash you for that. Please come out and say what you feel and show that leadership that you've shown on the pitch for the last 6 and 7 years, and we'll support you on it.
Absolutely. I completely echo those words. We have a comment here from Jiminy says, if we lose Kane, we lose Son too, then we have nothing. I think there will be some sort of domino effect if Harry Kane does go, because he is the centre of this team. And like you said, well, without his goals, we would be in a much worse position. Like, we would have been hoping for, like I said, those draws against Fulham, against Wolves, against Palace that we had earlier in the season. And we have to then question, what it means for the rest of the team. And look, we sell Son and Kane, we could have way upwards of £200 million there to rebuild a team. But then how much does that get you in the current market with the amount that certain players are going for? What does it mean for whatever manager comes in? There are just so many questions that remain unanswered. But on the Heung-min Son one, Will, we heard, was it last November or last December, that he was about to sign a new contract. That didn't really happen, and it was in late January. I spoke to Fabrizio Romano and I asked him about it, and he said it's imminent. They're just going through the formalities. And here we are 4 months later, and Son still hasn't put pen to paper. Do you think we could see the Korean move on as well this summer?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I guess I could say I've been the advocate or the voice of reason and kind of the assurance that he's going to sign that new contract for probably the last 2 or 3 months now. I don't think Son is any less ambitious than anyone else. And in fact, I would say that he's probably have people in his camp that are pushing him out, pushing him to leave. Probably more. There's probably more pressure on him to leave than Harry Kane, because there's an entire country of 33 million fans almost that are pushing him to go somewhere else where he can actually win something and win trophies. I don't think the Son is a done deal at all. And if Harry Kane does decide to leave this summer, as far as I know, Son hasn't put pen to paper yet. So I think that he would be the next one out the door, because I don't think he, at his age as well, I don't think he wants to sit around and wait through another 5-year rebuild to eventually be back in the Champions League.
And again, with him, I would not blame him one bit, because he has given so much to this club. The Irish hot speaker David Harris says, there's not many things that make me tear up in life, but this news is one of them. Goodbye, Harry, and RIP Tottenham. He would be the new Burnley. God, that's a scary thought. Dave, if you do want to hop on, the link is in the Spurs family group chat. And it's already started in terms of the stories kind of spawning off of this one, like Roots trying to get their clicks and all that. We have TF1 here from France saying PSG manager Mauricio Pochettino has held a recent telephone conversation with Harry Kane. Pochettino called to get a sense of what the striker will do in the event of Tottenham not getting Champions League football. And this is where we need to start filtering through every single story that comes out and trying to figure out which one actually makes sense, because 99% of them are going to be complete and utter crap. Like this one might be. We don't know that this is true, but there's going to be absolutely everything. Our timelines are going to be filled with news of where Harry Kane may be going, but it is only time is going to tell how that will work out. Well, any hope for Spurs?
I mean, we've been through this before, right? After we sold Bale, we brought in the Magnificent Seven. The only one who's still around from that is my good friend Eric Lamela, and
still without a pass with his right foot this season.
Yeah. So look, at least then too, there was Paul Mitchell was around after that, right, to help do the real rebuild. But now we don't even have a person like him in the club to help actually bring in quality individuals. There's no one out there in the world that watches any of us that could say we didn't tell you that this was coming, right? So,
and that for me is the reason why I'm doing this live stream. Because a lot of people here are saying, Shikari saying Sky Sports have no direct quotes from Harry. They're making this crap up. People saying, we don't trust Sky Sports, this, that, and the other thing. I wouldn't class Sky Sports as one of the most reliable sources anymore. But even if there's a story from a source that I don't think is the most reliable, you have to look at how realistic the story might be as well. And I don't think anyone would be surprised to hear that Kane wants to leave Spurs. If it happened, not one of us would begrudge him. Not one of us will be taken aback by the fact that he wanted to go somewhere else to better his career. As much as he loves this football club, as much as he loves what he's done at this time, he needs to go and be better. I mean, you look at Ajax, all the players that come through their academy, it's the hardest thing in the world for them to leave. I only saw a video the other day about Frankie de Jong when he was leaving, and there was thousands and thousands of Ajax fans seeing him off at the stadium. He clearly loved the club so much, but he knew he had to go to a better place to do better things. And Harry Kane is in a similar boat. We've David here saying, I genuinely believe it this time around. Martin says, Sky have no reason to lie. And Jiminy here with the 450 super chat. Jiminy, thank you so much. You are a legend. Says, no smoke without fire is what I say. And look, again, the fact that we were expecting this could be a reason for the story to be fabricated, but there is an air of truth about this. Whatever way you look at it, it does seem realistic that this could happen. Have you any more views on it, Will?
No, I mean 100%. I think that it's definitely realistic. Look, I've got the article here and I'm reading through it. Yes, it's a very ambiguous article. It's it's basically just talking about it could be too Kane's his representation. I guess that's what CK66 is. That's his management group or his agency or his and the other clubs have come in for him. I don't doubt that other clubs have come in for him. They've been coming in for him for probably the last 4 years, probably year in, year out. Whether or not it happens or not, maybe this is Kane's kind of passive-aggressive way of putting pressure on Daniel Levy. But my fear is that the fact that and I don't know if this ties into it or not, but we do have about £175 million loan to the Bank of England that is supposed to be paid back next year. And it just happens to be about the same amount as what they could get for Harry Kane. I don't put it past Daniel Levy to take every penny from a Harry Kane transfer and pay off that loan.
If that happens, that is the end of this football club. If Enoch think they've had it rough the last couple of years, if Daniel Levy thinks he's had it bad, this is the end, the absolute end for this club, for these this board, these owners, whatever you want to call them. Paul Markey here with the €5 super chat says, take a breath, guys. 150 million, only two possibilities, PSG or Chelsea. That, Paul, is the only thing keeping me sane at the moment, that there aren't many teams that can afford Harry Kane. Look, there was a comment a while ago that was very true. When a player asks to leave, the price tag doesn't actually go down. But Paul, thank you for the super chat, and I do agree with you. We got a bit more context on this story from Paul Gilmore here, who says, Harry Kane has told Tottenham he wants to leave this summer. Ideally would have it sorted before the Euros, with United, City and Chelsea among those to get in contract until 2024. So Spurs in a strong position. More detail on Sky Sports News. If this happens before the Euros, this could be the longest and the worst summer for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And Bobby just asked the question there, do you think any deal might be done prior to the Euros? I think yes. Honestly, I was just thinking about it before this actually popped up in my timeline. I thought it would be, it would come through after the Euros. Kane wants to focus on England, but it does make sense that he'd want to get his future sorted out before he went to the Euros. Don't want the distraction of a pending transfer or anything like that. Michael Cabral says Kane wants to team up with Jose in Roma. But Paul here as well saying Kane's representative is his brother, who's an Arsenal fan, has been pushing him to leave for a couple of years. But Kane, I suppose, was an Arsenal fan as well. So not much surprise there. Look, let's get the bun himself, Danny from In The Box TV. Danny, how are you feeling?
Lads? Oh, mate, I literally just finished work. I've been dragged into some rubbish at work, right, for an extra hour and a half than I should have been. I should have finished a long time ago. Just finished, and I just look at Sky Sports News and I see that, and I'm just like, do you know what? It's like, it's just going to keep getting worse, honestly, lads. I've got nothing more to say. It's just going to keep getting worse. We're going to be back in the dark ages of the 90s. If look, I get all this thing about like no one's going to be able to afford him, but the problem is people are forgetting, right, that nowadays people can structure deals, right? They don't have to pay £150 million in one hit. And if you honestly sit here and think that Daniel Levy will not take a structured deal where he's getting a sort of like an income of 30 million, 40 million a year, of course he'd do that. He's not stupid. He all he cares about is the money. If he's got a guaranteed 40 million a year over the pace of like say 3 or 4 years or something like that, or 3 or 4 years, he would do that because that's constant revenue coming in every year that he wouldn't have to find coming into the club, right? So the teams can structure it in that way, and I'm sure Man United and Man City and even Chelsea, for example. Do you know what? It's actually, I know Daniel Levy's always said this thing about not selling to Chelsea, but honestly, if they come in with a big enough bid, I know Brian Ireland's been saying this, right? But I've got a funny feeling that there's a possibility because I think it's going to be the Manchester clubs. I don't think it will be Chelsea because I don't think he's that disrespectful to Tottenham and the fans, mainly the fans. But I wouldn't put it by Daniel Levy if we get a bigger offer from Chelsea and he goes, yeah, I want to go Chelsea. But I just can't see it. For me, it's going to be, I've just got that feeling. If Pep doesn't go for him, which I don't think he will, I think it's going to be Man United. For me, it's been written for Man United for the last 2 years. I've kind of felt that if there's a club he's ever going to go to, as long as they're doing better than us and they're in the Champions League, he'll go to them. Because if you look at Man United now, they're probably a couple players off really competing like at the top, like with Man City, right? And they've got the money to spend, and they're doing a project with the Solskjaer. They've got a project there, and they're playing the right way at the moment. I know they've been inconsistent, but they have obviously for the last 2 games. Maguire's not been there. He's probably he has been their best centre back all season. And yeah, I just feel for us that if he does go to United, it's going to be one of the worst things seeing him score with. Do you know what? For me, I've said it before, Matt, and I just, for me, watching him play with Bruno Fernandes, knowing that if Levy put that extra bit of money, we would have had him at Spurs, and we would be in that position that they are in now, because we would have had that Eriksen replacement. It is just criminal. It's just the most disheartening thing. I honestly, if Kane leaves, I'm not going to be going to any matches next season. And I paid my season. I'm going to sell my tickets. I'm not going to go. I honestly will refuse to go and watch Tottenham, because it's just, even though I've paid for my ticket, right? And it's just like, I kind of feel I wish I could get a refund on it now. Honestly, but you can't. So what I'll probably do is just sell the tickets. I'm just so gutted and just, I just feel like my soul is just draining more and more every day with Spurs. Like, honestly, I don't want to go to the Spurs stadium next season if Kane's not there. Who am I going to go and watch? Fucking Dele Alli, run about Dele Marley and Moped and do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go and watch him next season with moon boots, because I know there's one thing for sure, they're not going to sell him, are they? Because Daniel Levy probably thinks he's God's gift, and Harry Winks, like you were saying in the documentary, oh, look how fast he is. I mean, are you deluded, mate? Like, honestly, I mean, for me, right, this selling Kane, right, because if he wants to go, right, I've seen, do you know what, funny the Kane thing came up today, right, because earlier on today and the last night I was looking at some reports and they were talking about like Danny Ings and strikers they want to bring in, and I was thinking, well, why are these rumors coming back again? But then after now seeing that Kane is now said that we haven't seen official quotes from him yet, so that's another thing we haven't seen. We haven't seen actual official quotes from Kane saying to a media outlet or anyone saying I want to leave. It's just what Sky Sports have supposedly been told, and we all know that Sky Sports can be told things and they might not be true, right? We've got to wait and see what he actually says about it, because I'm sure that now Sky Sports have said it. Either 2 things are going to happen. One, Kane's going to come out and say he's going to back up what Sky Sports have said, or 2, he's going to say something completely different, and the Sky Sports going to retract what they said, or they're going to twist it and say, oh yeah, it's not actually what we meant. Do you know what I mean? Like, unless I see Harry. Yeah,
I was going to say we do have some quotes here from Alistair Gold that I just want to get to, because it may
go for it.
Disprove that just a little bit. So Alistair Gold has tweeted in the last 5 or so minutes. He has said, understand that while Harry Kane is frustrated with what's been happening at Tottenham, he hasn't informed them of his desire to leave. Personally, I'd be surprised if he didn't want a new challenge, but he's not the type to create problems for the clubs that he loves. If someone wants to sign him, though, the fact remains that it would cost a huge amount of money to prize him away. He has plenty of contract time left, and there isn't one player to replace what he does for Spurs. They would need a number of signings. Will someone make such a huge bid? So a big update there from Alistair Gold, who's saying that he hasn't yet told Spurs of his desire to leave. Bobby here, good point, says gold isn't gospel. We got a few super chats there I just want to get through as well. Martin here at the 550. Martin, thank you so much for that. Says all the big dogs could afford him, whether it's player plus cash or not. United would make 100 million from him, shirt stains alone. shirt sales alone. HK9 is already getting started. And Jiminy as well says, if Kane went to United, I'd be very upset. The racial abuse Sonny suffered from their fan base would surely turn Kane off the club. I hope. Well, look, I'd take any reason for him to stay at Spurs, to be honest. But Will, we'll come to you. What are your thoughts on that update from Alistair Gold?
Hi, Will.
What's going on, Jay? Yeah, no, what I think too is that people need to be careful there, because that tweet right there is simply Alistair Gold's opinion, right? He hasn't been told from anyone that Harry Kane hasn't said anything, right? That's all just a conjecture on his part. Now, granted, he has a lot more information than any of us do normally, right? But you have to understand that that's simply his opinion on the situation, right? So he's just trying, I guess you could say, throw a little water onto the fire that's been sparked here. Because I mean, there are other shows that are going live right now too that immediately broke in with the news as it was going on, right? So, I just think that we need to take be calm and sober about it, but also too, just because Alistair Gold says it's not likely doesn't mean that it's not happened.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really important to kind of take into consideration. Someone being told that something has happened is very different to someone having not being told that it hasn't happened, if that makes sense. And I think I said this when, I heard from someone that I do trust that Spurs had approached Christophe Galtier a few weeks ago. Then Alistair Gold says, as far as he knows, Spurs haven't approached him. I'm not going to sit here and claim, I'm a better journalist than Alistair Gold, because I know for a fact that I'm not. But just because Gold hasn't been told that it's happened doesn't mean that it hasn't happened, because people have different sources within the club. Sky's source might have heard something or gotten in contact with whoever before Alistair Gold's sources did. And Seamus McGuinness here says, look at the wording, he hasn't informed. But the key word there is understand. This is what Alistair Gold understands. He hasn't been told that it's happened, essentially. So it could go either way with him so far. But Danny, what are your thoughts on Gold's input?
Yeah, I agree with what Will said. It's like you said. You just said it yourself. He understands that while Harry Kane is frustrated, because that's what he's known from for quite a number of weeks now. So it's not like it's new. It's old. It's new news to any of us. I mean, that's any fan who watches Tottenham can see that. It's clear you can clearly see Harry Kane is frustrated, because the way he's walked off on the losses recently, and the way he's just giving everything and no one, and the team is letting him down, and another year of Europa League football potentially. I mean, it could have been last week. It looked like it was going to be Conference League. So I mean, you don't want one of the best strikers in the world, if not probably arguably the best at the moment in terms of complete striker, playing in a Conference League. He wants to be winning the Champions League. He wants to be up there challenging for the Premier League, like we were a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's just, honestly, I'm just so angry and so frustrated, because if he was to go, right, like you said, Matt, no one will blame Kane for wanting to go, because we all know he deserves to be in a team that wants to match his ambitions, right? He's given so much for this club since he's been here, and the board have not matched his ambitions since he's been here. And you kind of thought, right, with Pochettino's era, right, and this is why I keep going back to this, and I hate going back to this, but you kind of think, right, in Pochettino's era, he had one of the best young teams in the country, playing some of the best football in the country. Mm-hmm. We had our chance to really, really make our mark in the Premier League, right, and really make our mark in football in Europe, right, and make our name really, really known. And we didn't do it. The owners didn't back Pochettino when he really wanted them to back him, when he really wanted to be backed, by the owners. And for me, just by them not backing him tells me what ENIC's ambitions are for this club. And for me, they will never want to win titles, right? They just don't. All they want to do is try and make money with the least amount of input into the business, right? And it's just so upsetting and sad, because I'm telling you, as Tottenham fans right now, right, we got to get ready for the most crazy roller coaster that we're going to see, we're going to go on for we've been on for a very long time. We're going to go back to the dark ages of the 90s and the bad days of the 90s. I'm telling you, the way it's going right now, we're going to be lingering 14th, 15th in the table. That's where we're going to be, I think, next season if Kane goes. Because really, what Kane does for this club, you need two quality players in that pitch. You need a central attacking midfielder, and you need another striker. But I mean, is Danny Ings and say for example, you sell Kane. Is Danny Ings and Sabitzer going to replace what Kane brings to the squad when Danny Ings is injury prone as well? And you know, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Honestly, I am dreading the day that he leaves, because if he leaves, for me, as soon as he does that, I will 1,000,000% not be going to any games next season. That's for sure. From my part, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to put myself through it, man. It costs too much money to even being in London, right? It costs a lot of money to go to games. So I can't even imagine what it costs for, like, for example, for someone like Will or yourself to get over here to go and watch a game. For me, it's expensive, and I live in North London, and I would hate for one of you guys to go over here and watch what we've become. Like, we've become a team that they just don't want it, do they? The ambition from the top, they just don't want anything. All they care about is money. And honestly, my mind is just going crazy right now. I'm kind of losing my words of what I'm trying to say, and it's just, I'm so angry, man. I'm just so angry. And yeah.
That's I think streams like this for us, as much as we want to bring the news to people and give our opinions and stuff, a lot of the time it is kind of therapy for us as well, because we're kind of talking through what we're thinking and trying to figure out our own opinions and our own expectations of the situation right now. I just want to say there are 400 people watching live right now, so please absolutely obliterate that like button if you are as angry as we are at Enoch and things like that. We're on 132 likes. Let's see if we can get that to 150. And as well, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new, because we'll be keeping you up to date with this story from the minute the news broke today at 7 o'clock.
Matt's frozen up on us, but yeah, definitely hit that like, subscribe button. You know, share the video with your friends. Let everybody know what's going on. But Danny, man, look, my whole thing, my frustration with this particular task or this particular type of article or this particular type of thing is, if it were to happen in a normal circumstance, if we had responsible people at the helm, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I wouldn't, it would suck, but at least I would think, okay, now, you know, like for instance, if I was City and you're selling Aguero at his peak, right? To bring in some, at least then you could trust that we're going to get someone in who's at least as good, if not better, maybe younger and better. But the problem is now that I don't have any faith at all that the club is going to do anything about it.
Yeah, they won't. And that's what's so upsetting, Will. You just literally hit the nail on the head. Like, you're bang on the money there, because like, if you had a sort of infrastructure behind the manager to recruit properly, then you'd be looking at it like, okay, right, if Harry Kane goes, right, they're gonna bring in some good players, but they're not. That's the problem. They're really not. They're gonna bring in, honestly, if we don't get someone like Danny Ings, right, and for me, even though I like Danny Ings, I think he's too injury prone. You can't rely on him all season. If you look at how many games he's missed this season for Southampton, he's missed a lot. And for me, it's just, I honestly see like a Callum Wilson bloody coming in, because that's the level they're going to go to, aren't they? I mean, honestly, Will,
or Wood,
or someone like Wood, yeah. Who do you think, like, realistically, who's out there right now? Who do you think they would look to bring in if Kane leaves? Because they're going to look to bring in a few players, but they're not going to bring in quality. I'll tell you that. They're not going to bring quality in.
You know, dude, I'm telling you, I'm a little bit worried about it. I don't really see a whole lot of other strikers out in the Premier League now who I'd be willing to take in Harry Kane's stead. I just don't. I don't see a lot of strikers in world football that I really want to see come in Kane's stead.
Yep.
Icardi, maybe. I mean, he's kind of a loose cannon, though.
Yeah.
I mean, who else, though, even has the potential other than Holland, who's going to be just as hard to get as Harry Kane is, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you got Lewandowski. He's a bit older and stuff like that, but you know, look, man. It's definitely it's a very harsh and very difficult thing that's going on. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, is.
Sorry.
We got your
I'm
back,
back.
Maddie. You're all good, man.
He's all back.
I think my connection and my laptop went there at the same time. My laptop crashed. I don't know what was happening there, but I apologize. I think interesting talk though on who we may potentially replace him with. There were stories yesterday that we were looking to get Mauro Icardi, and I saw a comment there a little bit further back, and I can't find it now because it's too far back. But they made the point of a potential swap deal for Icardi plus 50 or 60 million. I think from what Will was saying, with Spurs needing the money and Enoch needing to pay off their loans and stuff, I'm not entirely sure that's a route. That's a route Spurs will go down, because if you're selling your best asset, you want to get money in. Icardi could come in worth maybe like 60 or 70 million pounds within that deal itself, and then in 2 years' time be useless and he's gone for 20 million, and it's another massive loss for Spurs. So if you're going to lose that big asset that you have, I think there will be an element of them wanting to just reap the financial benefit of it, and then potentially move on from there and see what happens. So we'll have to wait and see how it pans out. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, I just can't see them buying an older striker, because the way Daniel Levy likes to do business is he likes to buy people with the potential to be a world-class player, and that's the key word. Like it's always with Tottenham, always potential this, potential that, and then like 3/4 of the time, 75% of the time, they just don't turn out the way that they envision them to turn out. And it's only the small percentage, even more probably, it's only the small percentage that does turn out really good. And like, yeah, I mean, for me, they're going to look to probably get a younger player, maybe who's 24, 25, around that sort of age. I don't know. Is Icardi? How old is Icardi? Is he 27 or 26? Isn't he?
I'll take a quick. I think he's just getting into his prime, somewhere in that. He's 28, same age as Kane.
Yeah, exactly. So could you see Daniel Levy spending a lot of money on a 28-year-old? I really cannot. Not if he's not got a sell-on value. That's Daniel Levy's prime business model, is sell on value. That's why he's refused to sell Eriksen when we had the chance. That's why doesn't want to sell Dele Alli, because at the moment Ali's sell-on value is not where it should be, or where he thinks it should be. But based on his current form, it's exactly where it should be. Yeah, and.
Trust Cody to make us laugh no matter what the story is.
Yeah, but I'm so worried about next season now, because like Will said, I really do not trust Steve Hitchen to bring in replacements. And do you know what? This has got Steve Hitchen and Daniel Levy's all over this. This is like, sell Harry Kane, you've got your money, spend a big chunk of it on the loans, the loan repayment, because apparently we've got to pay that loan repayment of 175 million by next May. So where are they going to get that money from? So I think Kane, and if Kane goes, what do you think is going to happen with Son? Do you think he's going to want to stay around? Do you really, is he going to be the top earner at the club? Or, I mean, if I was Son and I signed a new contract, if Kane was to leave, I would feel so sorry for Son as well. I really would, honestly, because if Kane goes, he needs to seriously look at his career and be like, I'm now 28 years old. What am I doing if Tottenham are selling their best asset, their best chance? And you had Højbjerg coming out the other day saying that we need more players like Kane. I mean, did you see what he came out today? I think it was. Did you? I don't know if you saw the article about what Højbjerg said. You didn't see it. It was a brilliant. I posted it on Twitter, right, and I retweeted it saying this is my captain. Have a read through that. I'll send it to you after, Matt.
Yeah, do.
But if you read through it, right, the comments are brilliant. He was basically saying, like, we need an ambitious manager, and he was basically saying that we need players basically like Harry Kane and Son. Like, we need players of that quality, basically. And it was brilliant what he said. And it's just so funny that it's come out today that, oh yeah, Harry Kane wants to leave, and it just sums up. It just sums up our club, really. To be honest, it's just like there's such an indifference in what the players think's going on and what the fans think are going on, and what's going on within the club, and where players' heads are at, and the different players, and there's no unity within this club. Like, everyone's got a different agenda or an opinion or thoughts of where the club's going, what they want to do in their careers, and that's why we're in a mess. And it's going to keep being like this for the next, I reckon, 3 or 4 years at least, minimum. Like, honestly, Kane goes, that's another 2-3 years backwards, because it's a rebuilding process, and we're going to be even further back when Kane goes. You sell your best asset. It's always the case. How many times have Tottenham ever sold their best asset and then the next season they've been even better? Because we don't reinvest properly. If we had like you said, like a Campos or someone who could actually find players who could actually, as a team, like build a team who could potentially be better if you sell Kane, then yeah, I'd have the faith, but not with Steve Hitchen and Daniel Levy. No way. No way.
As long as Daniel Levy has his hands in it, I don't have faith in it.
Yep.
That is the biggest problem, beyond any doubt. And I said it earlier today when I was talking. There's some Spurs fans getting excited about Luis Campos, so I just made a quick video about it. I said, we're not going anywhere until someone who makes the footballing decisions knows football. Yeah, Steve Hitchen played or whatever, but he hates the January transfer window. We don't want him in charge of recruitment. Daniel Levy does not know football. He should not be on.
No.
Brilliant on the side of business and all that, but on football, he should not be making those decisions. Robert Yee here says, looks like Spurs going the Schalke route of selling first-team players, then getting young prospects. And by the way, everyone keep an eye out for Robert Yee's comments because they're always fantastic in my videos. I always make sure to get to those ones first. Robert, thanks for tuning into the live stream. And I said that, I think it was on Paxton Road a couple of weeks ago, that Spurs and Daniel Levy are trying to find the perfect little bits of different ways to run a club and merge them into one, in terms of, say, the Ajax, Schalke, Southampton route of bringing in young players, making them great, selling them on for profit. Then that cycle starts again. We bring them in again. He's also gone down the kind of Arsenal route where your best players, sometimes he lets their contract run down to get the best out of them, then lets them go, like he did for 50 million, letting Christian Eriksen off to Inter Milan. And it's all these little different snippets of business ideas that he's trying to merge into one. And it's just not going to work. It really isn't. There's a reason, like you said, Danny, we've come so far back. It is one step forward, two steps back for Spurs. And it has been for quite a while now. And this is going to be a story that is going to rumble on. Oh, go on.
No, I was going to say it's more like one step forward and 4 steps back. The way that we go about it.
Yeah, we're turning into a banter club, to be perfectly honest. And the last couple of the seasons we've been poor, but I've always said, look, we're better than Arsenal. You know, it could be worse. We could be Arsenal. Soon, I wouldn't be surprised if we are Arsenal, because we're losing our best player. We have a board who don't know how to reinvest the money, and we have a squad that isn't good enough and that just does not care enough. But lads, have you any closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
If we do end up losing Harry Kane, then we can't even talk about Arsenal anymore, because they at least have Lacazette and Aubameyang. Which, I mean, who are we gonna bring in? I mean, Lacazette is 13 goals this season. Right, so even with as horrible a season as they have had, and Aubameyang, who's been putting in 20 goals a season in the past, if we lose Harry Kane and we get somebody in like Ollie Watkins, I think he's a great striker, but he's not a replacement for Harry Kane.
Not at all. No one is.
Yeah.
The only person who I would be like, yeah, let's sell Harry Kane, it would be Haaland. If we could get Haaland in at his age, then I would be happy. I was like, hey, that's a good replacement. Not that I would be excited for Harry Kane to leave, but I'd be like, okay, I would have confidence for the future going forward. But that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's it. The one player we want. I'd take Mbappe as well, but it's never going to happen. We're never going to get Haaland. We're never going to get Mbappe. We're not going to get any player who comes close. Ollie Watkins could be the pinnacle of the striker that we could attract this football club with the way we're going. But Danny, any closing thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think I echo what you guys have both said, to be honest with you. I just want to say, I was just about to say something like this, David. Yeah, I just want to say, Kane, he deserves so much better than how this club have treated him. And if he does go, all the best to him. All the best to you, Harry, mate, if you're watching. Because you don't deserve someone like Daniel Levy who runs this club the way that he does. He doesn't care about any ambitions about winning trophies. All his ambition is maximizing profits, minimizing losses. That's all he cares about. And I just want to say this to Spurs fans as well, because if Kane if Daniel Levy decides to sell Kane this summer, you guys have to be prepared for a turbulent time, because we are going to be going into the dark ages. And I'm telling this for a fact. Like this is not going to get better anytime soon. And I don't want to end it on a negative, but I'm trying to be realistic here, because I'd rather be realistic than give fans false hope and be like, oh yeah, we're going to sign this player, we're going to sign that player. Why are we going to get our hopes up? Because it's not good for it's not good for our health. Honestly, it really isn't. And people need to understand the reality that we're actually in right now. And that is the fact that the dark ages will be coming if that happens, because selling Kane shows the true ambitions of this club. If you haven't backed the sort of club's ambitions, or Pochettino's ambitions, for example, when he was here, Who's to say they're not gonna back the next manager's ambitions? There's no way. You had your golden era of a chance to progress the club to even another level than where we are or where we were, and yeah, it's not looking good. It really isn't. We're going to go back to the selling club that we always were before, like just sell our best players when it's a big transfer fee comes up, and it's going to be the same again. We're going to get the next. I don't know who it will be, but I reckon Son could be the next one if he doesn't go this season. I honestly, looking at it now, I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if they do decide to just sell both of them, get as much money as they can for both of them, and then they're gonna buy like 5 average players in to replace them, and they're gonna pay off their debts, and then they're gonna be like, oh look, Spurs fans, we've signed some replacements, and they're gonna be like a Nkudu's brother, they're gonna have a Chiricho's uncle, they're gonna bring back as well. Yeah, Dele Alli's brother. They're going to bring back Yunus Kabul for our centre back. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. I'm really not looking forward to it. And the worst thing is, if they say that, if Sky Sports, if what they're saying is true, right, and if what they're saying that they want to, he wants it wrapped up before the Euros, that's going to make it even more interesting summer to see what happens, and probably even more depressing one for us, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a comment there second and he said you're not negative, you're just being realistic. A super chat here from AT says Ali Gold has said Kane is not informed Spurs of a desire to leave. We went through that, AT, but thank you very much for the super chat. I think the main thing to take from that is just what Alistair Gold said he understands, rather than it's something he has been told. And in the last 10 minutes or so, Matt Law has said, as reported by Sky Sports, Harry Kane has told Tottenham Hotspur he wants to leave this summer. Now, Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph, I think, is a Chelsea fan. I think he covers Chelsea, so maybe trying to stir the pot a little bit there. But another story kind of corroborating what Sky Sports have said from the Telegraph, that Harry Kane does want to move on from Spurs. Now, what I will say is, whatever way this plays out, it doesn't bode well for ENIC. If Kane wants to go when he's held to the club, Spurs fans won't be happy with that. If he wants to go and he leaves, Spurs fans won't be happy that ENIC have allowed us to get to this point. So things will go very, very poorly for them. But look, we are going to wrap it up there. Thank you to
apparently
Danny.
Paul Gilmore has come on Sky Sports actually on TV and said it too. So it's not just an article now.
Oh, so he's putting his reputation, he's putting his face on the line. But look, it's very concerning times for Spurs. For the 3,500 people who've joined us over the last hour or so, for the 400 of you that are still left here, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to Will and Danny as well for your input.
Anytime.
Everyone, make sure to smash that like button on your way out. We're on 179 likes. Let's see if we can get to 200 before the end credits finish up, so we can at least have some bit of good news today. Again, thank you to everyone. Really appreciate it. Hopefully this news isn't true, but you have to admit there is an air of truth about it. But as always, thanks for watching.